Hey everybody, Norm over here, and this last week we lost a couple good ones. Mike Nesmith from the Monkees, who was a big part of the California sound, but one that really hit home to me was my buddy Phil Chen. Phil was one of the greatest bass players that I've ever heard. He played the bass on "Do You Think I'm Sexy" by Rod Stewart, played with Jeff Beck, played with Robbie Krieger in the latest incarnation of The Doors. He was a really close friend of mine, and I am really bummed out, and this one really hits home. Phil was very slight in size. He was probably about 110 pounds. He was from Jamaica. He was of Chinese ancestry, so he looked Chinese, but he had this really thick Jamaican accent. One of the greatest bass players ever, Mr. Phil Chen, comes from Jamaica.
That's right, Kingston, Jamaica.
And he is most known for playing on Rod Stewart's "Do You Think I'm Sexy?"
Yeah, okay.
But he's playing with The Doors now, and has been with Robbie Krieger for quite a while.
But we took the American music and we are a sucker for melodies. When there's a great melody, we take it and then we change it into reggae or something,
Right. So every time he spoke, I would be going, excuse me, what? Pardon me? And until my ear kind of adjusted to it every time. And I knew him for over 40 years, and we were really close friends. And the thing, that I loved about Phil is he and I loved old R&B and a lot of obscure R&B. And when he came in the store, or if he came to my house or wherever he would be that I would see him, we were like little kids. We'd go, "Hey, did you hear this tune by Bobby McClure, this other tune by Baby Washington, That's How Heartaches Are Made, or Mutiny by Junior Walker and the All-Stars." He loved James Jamerson from Motown, the great bass player from Motown, and he loved Jaco Pastorius. So I remember one time I turned him on to this tune, Mutiny, by Junior Walker and the All-Stars. And the bass line, it's a shuffle, but it's like no shuffle anybody's ever played before or after. One of the great parts that James Jamerson played, and he actually solos in that on that tune. And it's very unusual because he rarely would solo, especially on record. So, but we would, every time, he would come in, would be like little kids talking. And give us a little taste.
Give a reggae. That is like the typical Jamaica where the bass meanders and everything, and of course they have the
Marvin Gaye
and Tommy Tern.
Jaco, I Can Dig It Baby. That's Little Beaver. With Jaco playing it. He loved James Jamerson. He loved Jaco Pastorius. And Jaco was an old friend of mine. I grew up with Jaco in Miami, and Jaco was the same. He loved old R&B. He was known more for jazz and other stuff, but he really, everything that he ever played had like an R&B groove to it. And So, whenever I got together with Jocko, we would talk about old R&B tunes and things like that. Same with Phil. And one day, Jocko was in town, and I took him to my favorite restaurant, Monty's Steakhouse, off at Topanga Canyon. And I invited Phil, and so it was me, Phil, and Jocko sitting at the table, and we were just like little kids going, "You remember this one? Did you ever hear this?" And Phil was a big fan of this guy, Ernest Ranglin, who was like the king of Jamaican guitar. And he would bring me something from Ernest Ranglin, and Monty Alexander, who was a great jazz keyboard player, and he brought me this Lenny Brobe documentary before it ever came out. We would always love discussing it. At first it would start out with guitars, and that would go for about 15 minutes, and then it would go right to R&B, and anybody who knows me knows how much I love that stuff. So, again, this one really hits home. And by the way, the reason I was telling you that he was so slight in size is, a lot of people don't know it, but Phil was an expert martial artist. Whatever form that he knew, one day we were kidding around, I was much younger, in the store, and he said, "You want to see something?" And I said, "Okay." And the next thing I knew, I was on my back, and he said, "Let me help you up." And, he was very small, but whatever form of martial arts that he used, he would use your weight and your motion against yourself. So it would become a disadvantage to be big and if you move towards him. So just one of the great guys, one of the nicest people I've ever met. I'm going to miss him. And, I'm getting older. One day I'll be joining him up there, and, maybe Jocko and Phil and I can bring our list of old obscure R&B tunes to share. Love you, Phil.
I've always been a big fan of his because he's also, in case you don't know, he's a great singer. Wide Awake in a Dream.
No. We wouldn't want to do that. But
No, we won't do that, but that's it. How he does it? Check how he does it. He's going from the G sharp, A flat to the G, eh? Classic, stroke of genius.
I was made to love her.
Yeah.
Wonder.
Open the. You have to play that open D.
Well, this is an old guy music lesson here, but we love old R&B and stuff. So try to check out some of these tracks. Phil Chen, my buddy for many, many years.
And if you need,
I love this guy.
If you need any old vintage bass, guitars, everything, Rubber Band can come here because you're going to get the best. But he has the best. But it's Norman rear guitar. Thank you, Norman.
Thank you, Phil. Phil Chen.
Norman.